everybody. Welcome to the Extra Point Show this week. We have a great week of football to recap.
It's upset week. The Redskins beat the Buccaneers, and I
Indeed,
was
it is.
there for that game, which we will talk about more later.
Absolutely, we will. And it was also a big week for your San Francisco 49ers, making it five straight against Sean McVay and the Rams. For some reason, as good as they are, and oh my God, and we'll get into it. I thought that Matthew Stafford might be the difference. I was like, oh, they spent a lot of fucking money.
I know, right? It's like they
Maybe
might
he's
they
the
might have
difference.
it this time.
Yeah.
Nope, not even close.
It's
I
like
mean, I can't even
I
believe that
saw a
game.
meme. It's like you could take Matthew Stafford out of the Detroit Lions, but you can't take the Detroit Lions out of Matthew Stafford. I was like, all right, all right,
Yeah, that the score, man. What was it, like 38-7? Is that what it ended up
31 to
being?
10.
Oh, 31-10. All
Sean
right,
kicked a
yeah.
field goal with like 4 minutes to go. I was like, what are you doing? Are you trying to cover a spread of some kind, Sean?
Yeah,
Trying to
that was
like
the
go.
only other game that I saw some of. Is like I didn't see the end of it. That's why I didn't know the score entirely.
Yeah,
But yeah, I saw when they were whipping. I was like, nice. That was the morning I got, or the night after I got home from
put
DC. So
putting it on him, putting it
didn't
on him
see any
there.
other games this weekend other than that and the Redskins games.
Well, we'll talk about some of what happened because I did definitely see the games. Now,
I saw some
starting,
scores and I saw some highlights for sure, but I
yeah,
just didn't actually get to see any of the games. But
fair enough. I mean, you had a busy enough week. It happens.
I did.
Um, the started off with Thursday night football, where the like I said, it was upset week. So, or like you said, it was upset week. Whoever said it doesn't really matter. It was said. The first upset occurred on Thursday when the Miami Dolphins beat the Ravens 22 to 10, which was the Dolphins' third win of the season, and it was the Ravens' third loss of the season. So dropped the Ravens down to 6-3.
Yeah,
So
that
that
was
was
a surprising game to
that
me.
was
I mean,
definitely surprising.
I just saw the highlights of it, but yeah, after hearing about that the Ravens lost, I mean, I like the Ravens. They're from Baltimore, so it's like I always like to see them win. AFC. It's like, well, if they're playing, then I'll go for them. But yeah, the Dolphins beating them. They had last season they looked good, but this season, not been like it was.
Yeah, yeah, it was a big statement win for Brian Flores and his squad because, like you said, they haven't been playing well, and the way that the game went was it started out with Jacoby Brissett getting the start, and eventually he ended up getting injured, and Tua ended up coming in and replacing him and kind of leading the Dolphins on the win. So yeah, we'll end up seeing what happens down the road. Like you said, the Dolphins were a 10-win team last year. This year
Ten
they're
and six, I believe. Yeah.
yeah, this year they're at 3-7, and like I said, the Ravens are 6-3. So Baltimore's still in the playoff hunt, but we'll have to see what ends up happening down the road with the AFC playoff chase. Now, also, won't get too much into this. We'll just cover the score. The Bills smoked the Jets 45 to 17 in a game where Mike White, who was kind of a couple weeks ago the Jets' hero, when he led them on a come from behind win against was it the it was either the Titans or the Bengals. It was one of the games that they played.
Probably the
I
Bengals,
think
but
it
I
was the
don't
Bengals.
remember.
Yeah,
But I think
I
it was
think
the
yeah
Bengals.
it was Zach Wilson that started the win over the Titans earlier in the season. That's right. So he ended up coming out in this game and throwing four interceptions, and the final on that one was Buffalo 45, New York 17. So the Bills are also a 6-3 team and in the AFC playoff hunt. As we'll get into more, um, obviously Washington picked up a huge win over the Buccaneers, 29 to 19.
I might call that the biggest upset of the week, honestly. Defending Super Bowl champs, Washington, who literally nobody, including myself, I'm not gonna lie, I went to the game, but I was like, I'm walking in there. I had a wonderful time, but I'm going in there thinking, well, Tom Brady's probably gonna beat us, and like that's fine though. Like it's still great, but and then actually see the win like that, and not just me being there personally. I think just the two teams, Super Bowl defending Super Bowl champs and Washington, one of the you know not not good teams at the moment in the
Yeah.
NFL. Probably one of the worst. I just didn't want to say that, but not like top three worst, but they're up there. So to see that was amazing. To see them actually rally together and win, like, oh, just keep doing that.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they can. I mean, they've got a tough test this week too with Carolina. So, and Carolina's got a better defense. I mean, I know we'll get more into that in a little bit, but Carolina's got a better defense than people give them credit for. I think that's really an underrated unit, and they're well coached. Matt Rule, their coach, is one of the few coaches that comes from college, and I think will actually be successful in the NFL because it is a hard transition. So I mean, he's got a good mind for it. But also,
And they got Cam now starting, which
yeah, 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 definitely.
see how that. Hope maybe he will. Won't. I mean, they beat the Cardinals, which was shocking by a lot. What was it, 34-10? That's something.
Yeah, we were gonna cover that 34-10. Yeah. So the Panthers are 5-5 on the season, and that loss dropped Arizona down to 8-2. Also, as far as divisional opponents of Washington or the Washington in this case, Dallas put up 43 points on Atlanta to beat them 43-3 in what ended up being their largest victory since 2000. So yeah, I mean that game wasn't even close at any point. Atlanta kicked a field goal in the first quarter, and yeah, I mean they never scored
Yeah,
again.
Atlanta is
Yeah,
terrible. I mean, their record is
yeah,
better than Washington's. I think. Like God.
yeah. And Atlanta's actually played one more game since that. They ended up playing on the Thursday night game that happened just last night,
Yeah,
and
to the
they played the
Patriots, right?
Patriots, and they lost 25-0. So in the last eight quarters of football, they've scored
Oh.
3 points, and they've been outscored. Let's see, let me do quick math. 68-3 in their last 10. So I mean, like I said, I mean, I was
Can't
checking to
make
see if
that shit up.
yeah,
That's terrible.
I was checking to see if Arthur Smith was going to get fired today, and he hasn't been. But yeah, the Falcons are 4-6. Dallas 7-2. So Dallas obviously looking good, still leading that NFC East. Um, and then we had the Titans winning again. The Titans have won. They're actually 2-0 since Derrick Henry went out. They picked up a 23-21 win over the Saints, and that dropped the Saints down to 5-4. So Tennessee looking like right now they might be the favorite in the AFC, led with Adrian Peterson in there helping out in the run game. They've got AJ Brown, who's a really good receiver, and Ryan Tannehill's playing pretty good football, not turning the ball over. So Tennessee could make a pretty good playoff run. I mean, like I said, they picked up a 23-21 win over the Saints, and now the Saints are 5-4 as well. So they're in second place now to the Bucks, who are 6-3. They're leading that division.
But they're 6-3 now,
Yeah,
and
they
not
are.
and not 7-2.
They are. But I mean,
Or I'm sorry, 7-3.
and the Bucks have
Wait,
lost two straight games because they lost to the Saints before going into the bye week. So I
yeah, they've
imagine
had
that
two
they're
bad weeks.
yeah. But I mean, it might work out in your favor because Monday night Tom Brady and the Buccaneers play the Giants. So I mean, you
I
know
did
that
see
more than
that.
anybody, like Tom is like an emotional player, and like this kind of stuff like pisses him off. Like I'm sure
Yeah,
like he has.
did you see his press conference after the loss to Washington, dude? It
Yeah,
was like a minute and a half long, and he
yeah,
was just like, "All right, I'm done. I'm
yeah,
out. Like,
yeah,
I like winning games," and he just left.
yeah,
Like, he was so
yeah,
salty.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can understand. I mean, they expected to win that game, and I mean, coming into that game, Washington had scored 10, 10, and 13 points in their last three games. So
Yeah,
they definitely played a lot better, and we'll get more into that. But yeah, um, I still think that they'll be fine. I think that that's going to be one of the games where they come out and play the Giants, where I think the Giants are going to get smoked. The Giants might get Saquon Barkley back, but I mean, I don't know if it's going to matter in this situation. I mean, the Giants
yeah. I
did
hope
this.
I hope that the Bucks are looking more like they usually do. I mean, I'm glad that we got him on a bad week because, like, let's all be honest. Like, he played a shitty ass game. Two
Yeah,
picks in the first like 10 minutes or something.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
It's like when happened, it's like,
He
yeah,
wants
we
that.
beat them, but at the same time,
Yeah.
they had a very bad game.
Yeah.
So I don't think that
Yeah.
will continue based on the team that they are. So I think they're probably going to beat the Giants, and I hope they do. It's like I'm going for them. Shit.
Yeah. As far as teams that didn't get a win, the Lions had maybe one of their best chances to get a win this year against the Steelers, who right before the game it was announced that Ben Roethlisberger was going to be not available to due to COVID. So Mason Rudolph got the start, and the game ended up being at one
It was an
point.
overtime game, right?
Yeah. At one
I
point,
saw a
Detroit.
little bit of this one.
Yeah, at one point Detroit was up 16-10. Looked like the Lions might
Yep,
pick up the
yep,
win.
yep, yep. I remember
But
seeing that. Yeah.
Ryan Santoso, they're the Lions' third kicker of the season, because Austin Siebert went on IR, missed the extra point, which kept it 16-10 instead of 17-10. Um, Pittsburgh ends up coming back, tying the game at 16, where obviously if they would have had that extra point, they might have won. So it's another heartbreaker for the Lions. The Lions go into overtime, and they get an opportunity to kick a field goal, and Santoso misses a 48-yard field goal. So he was subsequently cut this week, and the Lions have now brought in their fourth kicker of the season, who's a rookie that's never kicked in the NFL before.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so I mean, Motor City Dan Campbell cannot buy a win in the NFL, and he's got Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns. And the Cleveland Browns have Myles Garrett this year, who is, he leads the NFL in sacks. I think he's got like 12. So Myles is going to be coming. And Detroit does not protect the quarterback well. I think when Goff was in there, he took 28 sacks, which is towards the top of the league. And it's not
Damn.
going to be Goff. It's going to be Tim Boyle making his first ever NFL start
Oh shit.
against Cleveland. So if I think Detroit will win a game this season, but I don't think it's going to be against the Browns and Baker Mayfield this Sunday.
Probably not. Probably not.
All right, let's see. Anything else? Speaking of the Browns, they did get smoked, so they're going to be looking to come out and play better, because I mean they got beat last week by the Patriots, 45-7. And actually, the Patriots are another team that's looked great, because they've outscored opponents 70-7 in their last two games. So Bill Belichick's defense is looking insane. They got the Browns 45-7, and then they got the we talked about it a second ago. They got the Falcons on Thursday Night Football, 25-2 nothing. So that brings the Patriots to 7-4. So right now, through 11 games, the Patriots have as many wins as they did last year, all of last year with Cam. So New England is definitely a playoff contender. 1 year from missing the playoffs, it looks like they might already be back. And the Browns are currently 5-5, so they're right in the thick of that AFC playoff race as well. Kind of just want to talk about what happened in the NFL since our last show. So Cam Newton has returned to Carolina on a 1-year deal, which is worth up to potentially $10 million. It's got 4.5 million guaranteed and a 1.5 million roster bonus. Basically, what that ends up being is it's the money that he didn't get from New England. They said that they were wanting to make the situation right and bring him back, because how Cam left after the 2019 season. He ended up getting injured. The season before, he only played in 2 games because he had that shoulder issue, and missed all of the next year, and then he came back after he got released with the Patriots. Didn't have the best year with the Patriots. Like we discussed, they were 7-9. So Cam hasn't been anywhere all season. And
Yeah,
now he
and to come
returns.
out and beat Arizona 34-10. It's like, damn, really? Like, Ron Rivera. Everyone thought Ron Rivera was gonna go for Cam, and then when he didn't go for
Yeah.
Cam, it's like,
Now,
hopefully that wasn't a mistake.
yeah. Now, one thing that I will mention: Cam did not start that game. PJ Walker started the game, so Cam did play. I think it was about 8 to 10 snaps. But he did
Oh, that's
throw
it.
yeah,
Okay.
but he did throw a touchdown pass and run a touchdown. Like, they just, since he wasn't super familiar Because when he was there, he was in the Scott Turner or Norv Turner, type offense that they were running there with Ron Rivera. So this is different than what Matt Rule has. So this is a different offense. I mean, some of those plays were probably similar to what he ran before, but
Mhm.
like he wasn't. He is on track to start this week. That's the
Yeah,
plan
I
for
saw
for
that.
him
That's
to
what I was gonna
start.
say. It's his first start basically is
Yeah,
against Washington.
yeah,
So
but he did
against his
come in.
his former coach.
Yeah, yeah, he's coming in against Washington this week and making his first start. So we'll see how that goes. I guess a big reason why people were saying he might not have been signed was Cam was unvaccinated and now he is vaccinated. So I guess that
Oh,
kind of
okay.
made it easier for him to be signed by teams. So yeah, I mean Sam Darnold is out for 4 to 6 weeks, and he wasn't playing that good to begin with. So you know Panthers are 5-5. We'll see if they can make a playoff push with Cam.
Hopefully not. Hopefully they lose this
Yeah, I
coming
mean
week. But
considering they're right in the thick of that NFC wild card race, where Washington and San Francisco are both trying to get to.
yeah,
Wouldn't it
so
wouldn't be the most ideal.
not at all.
And I know we talked about this last week, where he would end up in the waiver list, but he did sign. He cleared waivers, so he became a free agent. And I think it was announced a couple days later that Odell Beckham had signed with the Rams.
On
So
his way to ruin another team.
yeah. So soon after being acquired, or after acquiring Von Miller for a second and third round pick, which we talked about last week, they also picked up Odell, and they're paying him. I think it's about 7.25 million for the remainder of the season. Then he will be a free agent again unless they decide to sign him to a new contract. But he did end up playing against the 49ers on Monday Night Football. Ended up playing 15 of a possible 55 snaps, and he was pretty quiet. He was pretty quiet. He was quite limited. Limited to 3 targets. He was targeted 3 times and caught 2 passes for 18 yards. And he was
Yeah, not
mostly
much.
covered.
Not much
Yeah,
there.
and he was mostly covered by Josh Norman and Emmanuel Mosley. So they locked him up pretty good. Like I said, he only had 15 snaps because, like we talked about with Cam, he doesn't have full familiarity with the offense yet because he's only been there, like less than a week. But they definitely had some plays in there for him. And actually, one of the times, and we'll get into this here when we do the Niners report, but the pass that he didn't catch was a deep ball targeted for him that was just picked off by Jimmy Ward, where it seemed like Odell just gave up on the route, and Jimmy Ward got his first of 2 interceptions. So, yeah, not the best start. Von Miller made his Rams debut, also against the Niners, played 40 snaps, coming back from that ankle injury, first time he's played since the Washington game against Denver, the 17-10 game, and he played 40 snaps, had 3 tackles, so he wasn't much of a factor either. Aaron Donald also not much of a factor. All in all, the Niners' offensive line held up well and only allowed 1 sack, which we'll discuss here in a little bit. Um, and as we always like to cover, if there's anybody that becomes available, you know, up and coming free agents. There was another running back that became available. I'm sure he'll be picked up soon. Le'Veon Bell, the one-time Pro Bowl running back of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who hasn't been the same player since he held out in 2018 with Pittsburgh. He's bounced around from a couple teams. He's been with Kansas City. He's been with the Jets. He most recently was with Baltimore. He was released after 5 games with the Ravens this season.
Yeah, he did not have very good numbers. I mean, 31 times for 83 yards,
Yeah, yeah, it was averaging.
2.7 yards per attempt. I mean, he did have 2 touchdowns, but man,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that doesn't sound good.
and then he had caught 1 pass for -1 yards. So definitely not the dynamic player that he once was.
-1 yard.
Yeah, he was signed to replace or help offset the loss to as you know and we've talked about, the Ravens lost their top 3 running backs: J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards.
Gus Edwards and Justice Hill.
Yeah, Yeah, in the preseason before games that started, and that was something that I know we've talked about before. I mean, the Ravens have like a preseason record of what is it, like 13 or 14
20,
straight
20
preseason.
wins in a row or something. I think
Yeah,
it's 20.
20 straight preseason win. Yeah, that's right. Which they set the record, but I mean, you lost like your top three backs in the pre. Now, fortunately
Yeah,
for Baltimore, they're 6-3 and they've been all right
yeah.
because they've signed kind of a who's who of former NFL greats of the past 5 seasons. They got Le'Veon Bell, they got Latavius Murray, the former Raiders starter, and they got former Atlanta starter Devonta Freeman. And Murray's been out the last 3 games with an ankle, but this release could signify that Latavius Murray's close to returning. So maybe that's why they got rid of him. But
That makes sense.
I mean, you're rounding into week excuse me, you're rounding into week 11, and plenty of teams have running back questions, including recently the Cleveland Browns, who ended up having Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb and Demetric Felton all out. 2 of them because of the COVID thing, and Kareem Hunt's just been out for a few weeks. But yeah, so I mean, I'm sure Le'Veon Bell will get picked up somewhere soon, but
Oh yeah,
we'll have
definitely.
to follow that and see. And the next thing is an interesting topic, and that's on the topic of as we know, the NFL has been definitely more cognizant of the fact that they are calling these taunting penalties this year, and that leads us to the question: Is taunting being over officiated this year? In
I'd
your
say by
opinion?
these numbers, I would say absolutely. 30, 30, and it's only week 11,
Yeah, and that's
right? And there was 9 last season.
yeah,
Like,
and that's
what
that's the
the
numbers going
fuck?
through week 10. So coming into week 11, it's
Yeah.
30. Yeah, and 9 called all last season. So yeah, and
Mm,
it's
terrible,
it's
man.
it's been
Terrible.
ridiculous. I think the most
That's a
notable.
stupid fucking penalty. Like,
Yeah.
oh, who cares? Really, you're gonna, what is like? What's the actual result? Is it a first down or is it just
Oh
yard?
yeah,
How?
yeah.
I,
It's
it's
unsportsmanlike, so it's 15
yeah.
yards and a
That's
first
that's
down. Yeah,
absolutely insane. Like, oh, you're just gonna ruin the football game because
yeah.
of taunting. I mean,
I feel like one was called in the Washington game against
I
the
think there
Bucks
was. I think it.
against
I'm trying to.
Washington.
I think it was against Washington. I'm
Yeah, it
trying to
was
remember who it was.
somebody on the defense, but I don't remember who it was
I think it
exactly.
was Jonathan Allen
Yeah,
or
it might
somebody.
have been.
Like, yeah, I think so. I'm not sure, but I think it
Yeah,
was.
but yeah, I mean that's the most notable case, and this is a situation where it actually cost a team a game, was a couple weeks ago when the Bears were playing the Steelers, and the Bears had a 27-26 lead, and the Steel and that game was a game that Roethlisberger was starting. So Cassius Marsh, former 49er Cassius Marsh, came in and sacked Ben Roethlisberger on 3rd down, made it 4th down and long. And I don't know, do you remember Cassius Marsh, for defensive end for the Niners? He played for us for like a couple seasons, 2017, 18, maybe part of 19. He was all tatted up, had long hair. It's a white guy.
I really I don't
Okay.
honestly.
Yeah. Anyway, Cassius Marsh, you might remember because he used to do like a karate spin kick after he'd sack the quarterback. Do you remember that? Super
No,
super
no, that sounds sick.
Yeah.
Damn.
So anyway, he sacks Roethlisberger and he does this karate kick, which they don't call him for that, but like he looks at the Steelers bench. He just looks at the bench, and then there was like an incident where like running off the field and he like kind of grazed the referee, and they thought maybe because he grazed the referee that's why they called it. They're like, did they call it because he hit the official? And like maybe the official was mad, but they like zoomed in on it and showed that the official was already going to like pull out his flag at that point. So they called him for taunting for just looking at the Steelers bench. So basically what that did was that gave Pittsburgh an automatic 1st down and cost the Bears the win because the Bears had him stopped. The Bears had it was
That
like
sucks.
4th and like 23. They probably weren't going to pick that up. and they were leading
Damn.
27-26. So for automatic first down, Pittsburgh goes down and kicks a field goal, wins the game 29-27.
That is
Yeah.
some
So
bullshit.
the taunting call actually is it has cost teams games, and Sean Payton, the New Orleans coach, recently addressed it, and he said that he thinks it's getting ridiculous because he said when he sat in as a member of the competition committee, when it was explained to them, it was only going to be like egregious, like examples of like a
Yeah,
player
yeah,
like
yeah. Someone going like,
disrespecting the
what,
yeah
motherfucker?
yeah
Well,
yeah
something
yeah
crazy getting in someone's face, but like,
yeah
these little
exactly.
bullshit things.
and
Like,
and
don't fuck with the game. Don't ruin the game.
and a lot of that hasn't been that. Like a lot of that probably
Yeah,
is warranted, but like a lot of that definitely hasn't been that, especially in the case of Cassius Marsh and the Chicago Bears losing that game, which they had won, at that point. So pretty unfortunate situation for them. But yeah, what Sean Payton said in an interview recently was he's like it's getting to the point where he's like, it's like if you're sitting in a bar, you can look over at the guy next to you and say taunting, and like that's taunting. He's like it's getting to that point, and I mean it's pretty ridiculous. So yeah, versus
yeah,
like we said 9 last year.
yeah. That's a huge difference. It's like there's a lot of games left. That number is probably going to be 50 plus by the time the season's done if it continues the way it is.
Yeah,
That's ridiculous.
I'd imagine so. Yeah, I mean,
Ugh.
and the NFL released a statement on Wednesday saying that they're in support of everything so far. So I don't see it changing in any time soon.
Yeah, that sucks.
So yeah, unfortunately. And speaking of big NFL news, it's been report excuse me reported. Need to drink some water here. It's been reported that Jon Gruden is filing a lawsuit against the NFL and Commissioner Roger Goodell, alleging that the accused parties sought to ruin his career by releasing emails that were private. Obviously, we've discussed the Jon Gruden situation, in the past on this show, and yeah, that's kind of an update that he is going to be suing the NFL.
Yeah,
So
we'll see how that goes. I wish him luck. I guess like I hope it goes well. But
yeah, I'm just real curious to see if the NFL or I'm sorry, if the judge in this case requires them to release all of the emails, because I think that potentially it's a situation where Jon Gruden, and I know we've discussed this before, but he was potentially like the fall guy or the scapegoat in this situation. And I'm not
yeah,
saying the emails that Gruden sent were, like great. Obviously, like, you don't want that stuff out there and, shouldn't have said that stuff. But as we also mentioned, that was also in 2010 and when he wasn't the Raiders head coach. Um, and damn, the Raiders have had a fuck of a season, haven't they?
yeah,
I
they
mean,
really
like
have.
if they end up
Started out so well.
yeah, if they end up making the playoffs, then they earn it. Like and Derek Carr is having a great season too. So we'll end up seeing what happens. But yeah, so Gruden suing the NFL for the release of these private emails in which he used racist, homophobic, and misogynistic terms. So Gruden is seeking money in the excess of $15,000 each in 7 cases of action. So yeah, that's a lot of money if he ends up winning. I don't know exactly what that entails or like what they're looking for or what these cases of action are. But yeah, certainly going to be interesting because yeah, if the NFL release or requires them to release additional emails, then I mean shit. Have you?
Yeah, that could be bad. It could be good though if he gets rid of Dan Snyder.
It could
Shit,
it
that's
could be
why
good.
I hope little Danny boy has got some emails in there that know that he doesn't want anyone to see, and
Do you think John sent Dan Snyder any emails? You think he sent him an RG3 email? An RG3 mail? That was not my best work, but it's all right. Um, yeah, I mean, like I said, kind of shitty in a lot of ways because of the timing of the situation. Now there were a couple of statements released, and we'll go ahead and put them up on the screen here.
Reading the quote, you can just hear Roger Goodell saying it. Like just I just hear his voice
Yeah,
just reading
yeah,
that.
yeah. The allegations are entirely meritless, and the NFL will vigorously defend these claims. Those
you can just
were
you can
given
just see him on a podium
by
saying that.
NFL
You know what I mean? It's just
spokesperson
you can just
Brian
see it.
McCarthy and released in a statement obtained by Tom Pellisario. So there was also a statement released, and we'll go ahead and put this one up by Gruden's counsel, attorney Adam Hosmer Henner, who released a statement saying that Jon Gruden has filed a suit against the National Football League and Commissioner Goodell in the 8th Judicial District Court in Clark County, Nevada. The complaint alleges that the defendants selectively leaked Gruden's private correspondence to the Wall Street Journal and New York Times in order to harm Gruden's reputation and force him out of his job. There is no explanation or justification of why Gruden's emails were the only ones made public out of 650,000 emails collected in the NFL's investigation of the Washington football team, or for why the emails were held for months before being released in the middle of the Raiders' season. And that's true. They were released, 5 games into the Raiders' season when the Raiders were 3-2, and that kind of started the downward skid. Obviously, soon after that, Gruden being, he ended up being forced to resign, and it's stated there too that Gruden was forced to resign by Hosmer Henner, and they're obviously just made it seem like he was resigning on his own
Yeah, no, he
recognizance,
got he
but
got
clearly
fired.
he was pressured into that,
Yeah.
and yeah, it kind of started the downward skid because soon after that was the Henry Ruggs situation, and then the Damon Arnett situation. Yeah, so and then there was the New York Giants situation where they got beat by the Giants 23-16. So yeah. Anyway, that's it's been rough for Raider Nation, but we'll have to see what Coach Chucky can come up with here, and if he's able to win his suit. Personally, I wouldn't mind seeing Goodell go down for something. I know he's up to something. I just don't fucking trust that he's not up to nothing. Like I have no proof, but it's like
You just said we're gonna see what Coach Chucky does, and he's no longer the coach, right?
I mean,
Or do
so
you mean in regards to like the lawsuit?
yeah, yeah, that's what I mean in regards
Okay.
to the lawsuit. Yeah, and obviously like referring to him as coach, like it's like president. It's like being president, man. They're always referring to you as coach. Retired coaches still get called coach. Like it's like it's the same thing, dude. Like he's always gonna be Coach Gruden, even if he's not a coach, even if he never coaches again. That's what he's known as. He's Coach Gruden. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see if fucking Goodell gets strung up. I mean, we're still waiting to see what ends up happening with Deshaun Watson. So I mean,
Yeah.
still not playing, still not in jail, still not, really just accusations. We've been following that all season, so no updates there. Stay tuned.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to this week's Redskins Rundown. Victory week, upset week, beat the Buccaneers, and I was at that game in person and actually saw it happen, which was amazing. A lot of shit gets talked about FedEx Field and like, the experience there. They don't sell a lot of tickets, but all I know is that I had an amazing time. It was great. Like, yeah, more seats could have been filled, but to go there walking into thinking it's going to be a loss, and then it's the defending Super Bowl champ Tom Brady. Come on, and then to actually have a win. We were up that entire game, not one time where we actually down that
Yeah, that's
entire
true.
game,
That's true.
and that never happens. It's like, oh, just amazing. I mean, I still can't even get over the fact that I actually saw that. It was
Was
amazing.
was it like was there a good part of it that you could tell that was just empty, like the upper deck
Um,
or something,
it
or?
was like the upper decks, yeah,
Oh, I
like the
see.
very very upper ones were pretty sparse. I mean, they're like half full, I would say,
Mm.
but the lower decks were mostly full.
Well, come
But
on,
they're
DC, get out there and support your football team. I mean, they got you a big win. They've
right.
got Carolina this week. I mean, get out there and support your team. Win, lose or draw. I mean, it could go terrible, but there's always
The
there's nothing like
tailgating, the tailgating was great. I gotta
yeah.
say. I mean, I'm not used to seeing that much Redskins gear and people with Redskins stuff on, and you're walking around and people got tents of the Redskins stuff. I mean, there's some Washington football team stuff as
Yeah,
well, which I like that as well. I mean, I happen to have all Redskins stuff hanging back here, but I'm totally cool with the Washington football team stuff too.
sure.
I just I got to get some more of that stuff, but it's also going to change. So it's like I feel like I should get it soon that way because when it does change, it's going to be like a piece of time. It's like it's worth having. I feel like so.
Right.
I know a lot of people don't like that the Washington football team part since the name's gone, but it is what it is, and
Yeah.
you got to embrace the
Yeah.
future.
There's what can you do about it? I mean, you don't have any say in that.
And
That's
being
what
in the
these
team
guys do.
store and seeing all the stuff, it felt like my team, like the way they do it. I don't know, it's not Redskins, but it feels.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like they're probably. I mean, they kept the colors the same.
And that definitely helps.
Yeah.
That definitely helps.
Yeah.
And but
That's the way to
the
do it.
logo, even the logo they have, it is basic, but like I don't know, it has grown on me. Like if they did stick with that, I probably could live with it. But
Yeah.
I definitely would still prefer Red Wolves. I think that there's a lot of opportunities with that and the mascot and the logo and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know why I got sidetracked there. On to the win.
No,
We're talking
that's
about the
fine.
Buccaneers win.
That's fine. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, like
But
you
yeah,
said,
so
they did get up early. I think
Joey Sly, he got his
Joey
first
Sly.
two, nailed his first, and that was his first kick with us too. That was at the beginning of the game. That was the first drive, and see, that was right. I was right behind the goalpost, like so. I was like 19 rows up, so I
Okay.
saw that kick going right in. I was like, and Joey Sly makes his
Yeah.
first field goal.
They've got. Yeah. I think I saw that on the Facebook video you had. Yeah. So like I think he nailed that from I want to say like maybe 46. I think he got one of his from
I think
46.
it was closer than that. I think that one
Okay.
was fairly close.
So
It
maybe
was a
the other one was, but yeah.
yeah.
So he kicked the field goal. Obviously Washington came out and had a good first drive. They ended up getting 3 points out of it, and then the Buccaneers on their first drive came out and yeah, Tom had a rough start to that game. Um,
Yeah, he went three and out his first drive, and then I think the next drive he got the ball, he threw the interception.
yeah. So they did go three and out the first time, and then the second
And that
drive.
interception was amazing to see. Just the way the ball pops up, and like I had a nice view of it, I could see the whole thing.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Tom was looking for Jalen Darden, who's like their return guy, and basically forced into having to play wide receiver because Antonio Brown is out, and they've got some injuries to their wide receivers. So not a guy they'd normally have in there, but the ball got knocked out of his hands by Cam Curl.
Cam Curl.
Yeah, and it got knocked in the air, and William Jackson.
All right.
No, you're fine. Made a diving interception for his second pick of the season. So that was really
Yeah,
nice.
that one was nice.
Big momentum changer, and that was able to set them up. And I feel like didn't they just go like three and out on the next drive, but they were already in field goal range, so they end up kicking a field goal and go up 6-0 at that point.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
went six. Yeah, it was two
yeah,
field goals in a row.
yeah.
And
But
then I'm pretty sure Tom threw another pick. I'm not sure if it was the immediate drive after that or
it was,
not. But
it was.
was it the immediate drive? It was.
Yeah,
So he throws another pick, and this one, that one, I had such a good view to it, dude. It just looked like he threw it straight to him, and like after watching it on TV, it still looks like that. But I just saw that shit go right to him. I was like,
yeah. So what it was it was when he was looking for I want to say Mike Evans across the middle, um,
Mhm.
and I think like he threw it like a little bit behind him, like because like the guy was like going like this way and like the ball like went like right over him. Yeah, he threw the interception to Bobby McCain, who kind of just like followed Tom Brady's eyes and was just right there. But yeah, Tom was looking
Yep.
for Mike Evans, and he kind of just got the ball like right behind him. So I'm not sure if he just timed it wrong or what. But yeah, I mean he definitely ended up playing a lot better after that. But I think after like the first two drives, Tom Brady was 1 out of 4 for 2 yards and one interception. Then he had a second interception. So he started off pretty rough. Ended up finishing the game, and in the second half, he was 12 out of 14 for 116 yards and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. So definitely played a lot better. Got them at one point within 4 points, but Suck Up missed the extra point, and which would have made it 3 points. And
Yeah.
that's as close as they got after that. So he did start to lead them. I like I said, I feel like he could have made it more interesting if they would have had another quarter. But unfortunately, he really didn't start playing his good football until the second half. Unfortunately for them, anyway, because what was it
Yeah,
like?
I was gonna say, yeah, not unfortunately for
Yeah,
us, but
yeah.
unfortunately
Well,
for
what was it
Tom
like?
Brady, yes.
16-6 at the half, right? Because they ended up getting
Yeah, I think that's when I'm trying to remember when it was because I didn't, have it all. But Taylor Heineke threw that beautiful pass to DeAndre Carter in the end
yeah.
zone, just perfectly placed. I'm not sure when that was exactly, but
And that
I
was in the
want to say
second.
that
That was
was.
in the second quarter.
I
Yeah,
want. Okay, all right. So it was before the half,
yeah,
and then they kicked another field goal
yep,
after that.
yeah. So Sly had a perfect first game. He was 3 for 3 on
Yep.
field goals and made all of his extra points, which is usually what he has the harder time with. So that was definitely good to see.
Yeah.
With
Also in the second quarter, I hate to even have to talk about this, but as we all know, Chase
yeah,
Young
mm,
tore his ACL and
yeah,
is out for the season. So that is a big blow. It was really nice to beat the Bucks. Like I don't want to have to start with that because it's extremely depressing, but
yeah.
it does suck a lot. But we did win that game, but losing him is like, it's kind
It's
of
it's
like a
it's a
bigger
big
loss.
loss.
And it was a weird injury. He didn't even. It was a no contact injury. He
Was
was
that
just
what it was?
running and yeah, and all of a sudden and he just fell down and it's like, man, how does that even happen?
Yeah, I saw that he was like trying to come around and like pursue, and
Yeah, he came back on the field after he went into the locker room like on crutches and like
yeah,
stood there, and he didn't get on the cart either. Like, and I was right by the tunnel, so as he was walking in, like I could see him coming in. I'm 19 rows up or so, but he was close. Like I saw him going. I was like, man, it's cool to see him, but this
yeah.
sucks. Like I don't want to see this. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that is rough, especially since they were already playing without, Montez Sweat because of his
the
jaw
jaw
injury.
injury.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so now they're down both of their starting defensive ends. So
Yep,
depending on
that's
how the
not
playoff season
unfortunate. I mean,
ends
we
up.
still won that game, but yeah, and he went out fairly like halfway through the second, I think it was, or
Yeah,
maybe
it
five
was
minutes
literally
left.
about midway through the second
Yeah.
quarter, and then on
So
their ensuing offensive drive, they had Ricky Seals Jones upon catching his third pass of the game go down. He looked like he was grabbing his hip or something like that, hip or knee.
yeah, we
So
and we're that was I think that was towards the end of the game though, wasn't it?
that was
Third quarter
that was
maybe.
towards the end of the second half, or
Oh,
towards the
okay.
end of the second
Well,
quarter.
we
So
need Logan Thomas back. That is all I know because he has been like I thought he might be back for that game. I was really excited for that, but
yeah,
he wasn't. So
I was
maybe
thinking
maybe
so
next week.
as well. I mean, with that happening, I mean, John Bates did have a career high 3 catches. He did have. They
A
ruled him
fumble, didn't
down,
he
but no,
fumble or?
he was ruled
Oh,
down.
his arm hit the ground. I
Yeah,
remember that
he was
one.
ruled down. Thank God.
Yeah,
But
that's right.
he
Thank
got up and then
God.
he
Oof.
but that would have been real bad. But
Yeah.
he filled in all right, and then obviously Samis Reyes was in there a little bit playing on special teams. So if Logan Thomas isn't back, that's probably who they'll rely on. I know
Yeah.
earlier in the season, I don't think they have him on the practice squad anymore, but they had Jace Sternberger. I think he might have actually been released because Ricky Seals Jones was playing so well, and he has like 23 catches. So I mean he's been filling in for Logan Thomas real well, but yeah, they need to get Logan back.
Fairly well. I mean, he does drop quite a bit of passes sometimes, but yeah, he's done all right.
Yeah, I mean like he's definitely given them better threat than
Like, I
anyone
mean,
could have
he could be,
otherwise.
like a second or third tight end for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean that's where he is. That's where he is on the depth chart. I mean, he's not it's not the plan for him to be starting.
While watching that game unfold, I didn't I didn't want to get excited at all until I knew for sure. Like, you remember, it was 23-19. I'm like, man, Tom Brady's gonna come back. Wait, Tom Brady's gonna come back. It's coming.
Yeah.
And then once Gibson ran in for that touchdown and made it, 29-19.
Hmm.
Oh my God. It was like, that's when everyone, and there was only 31 seconds left. It was like, what was it, a 10-minute, 26-second drive they had
Yeah.
to run down the clock and then
Yeah.
score,
Yeah.
which is like
10
a
minutes,
record.
26 seconds. It was a 19-play, 80-yard drive, um, which yeah, was the longest drive in the NFL. And actually stood as the longest drive
The
in the
NFL season, I think.
yeah,
And,
yeah, yeah,
and,
yeah,
and since 2001 for Washington.
yeah.
I think they had a longer one apparently
Yeah,
before that. But
that record stood all of I mean, we were going to get into it here in a little bit, but that record ended up standing all of about a night because the following night the Niners had an 18
really?
play, 93-yard drive that was 11 minutes and 3 seconds long
Oh my
to
God, are
start
you
the drive.
serious?
Yeah. So it's
What the fuck?
no, and this is one thing I wanted to talk about. There's so many similarities
Oh,
between
that's
how the Washington
great.
game went, and how the San Francisco game went.
You
One,
know what? If had to be anybody to get more, then I'm glad it was the Niners. Like,
yeah. So like, it's crazy how it is because both teams were heavily the underdogs in these
yeah,
situations. I mean, the Rams did just lose to the Titans, but the Titans are a good team. And I mean, the Rams have been, looking good. They came in at 7-2. They're 7-3 now. But and same with the Bucks. They came in, they were hot. They were 6-2. So definitely nobody expecting them to win. But yeah, I mean, totally games where both teams dominated the line of scrimmage and just like out physicaled the other team. And yeah, like I said, there was one drive where you guys put them away. We had that drive in the first quarter, so we went down and we went up 7-0 with that. And the Niners at the end of the first half had only like two drives. That's how much time they possessed the ball in the first half, and we'll get more into that here in a little bit. But yeah, I mean it was just all about ball control, and yeah, so you guys ended up like picking up a huge win, and they ended up doing the same thing by just really possessing the ball, and that's what you need to do: possess the ball and not turn it over.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, there wasn't. I think Heineke threw what I think it was one interception, and that happens.
He
It's
didn't.
all
No,
good.
he
But
didn't even have an interception. He didn't have any interception. They had one turn. They did have one turnover, but it was the Dax Milne fumble. Dax Milne was stripped of the.
really, okay,
Yeah,
man, I thought for
yeah.
sure he had one
No, he had
interception.
one touchdown, no interceptions, and Tom Brady had
One
two.
touchdown with 29 points.
Yeah.
Damn. Hmm.
So Antonio Gibson got two touchdowns, and then 9 points were field goals.
Right, that makes sense. Okay,
So
yeah.
three touchdowns, and then like I said,
Gibson, man, Gibson getting us the point, man. That last when he cuts to the left and just runs
yeah,
around. Oh,
yeah. He just
that
he
was
just
the
beat
moment. That
everybody.
was the moment of elation. Everyone was like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, we can finally celebrate." And no, we're not going to lose at some
yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Was everybody pretty nervous until that happened? That like Tom Brady was just
Most of us were, but the guy I went with, John, he's very positive, and he was
yeah.
like, "No, man, we could beat them. We're gonna beat them." And I'm like, "Okay, dude."
All right.
And yeah, he was right. Like, I gotta give it to him. He was right in the end. Like, we did win. So
Yeah, yeah,
maybe it was us being up there. We brought the luck. It's like,
yeah, yeah. I mean that's definitely good news. I was also going to mention, we didn't cover this with the earlier injuries, but Brandon Sheriff, who ended up like returning in that game, that was his first game back, ended up leaving late in the third quarter, and was replaced by Wes Schweitzer, who has started the last two games in place of Sheriff, so he ended up coming in there. And the offensive line ended up playing pretty good because on Gibson's first touchdown, as I'm sure you recall, they ended up getting tremendous push, and Gibson's
dude, the amount of fight in that one, that was
yeah,
crazy. I mean, at the game at the time, I didn't really know what happened,
yeah,
but after looking at it after the fact, like, you can just see he just pushes his way, and like the whole O line just, yeah, that was beautiful. That is, mm,
that's awesome.
That's what you want to see.
Yeah, no, I mean they played good. They played a good team effort. The defense played good. Like I said, Tom Brady had a good second half, but that you guys held him to 6 points in the first half, and yeah, that was also the first time. And this shows you how good Tom Brady is. This is the first time because this is something that probably happens to like most quarterbacks. I don't want to say like on the regular, but probably at least like once a season. But Tom Brady hadn't had a game where he'd thrown two first quarter picks in 10 years. So,
In 10 years?
in 10 years. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, what are the chances of that it
Yeah.
happens?
And
The one game that I go to.
you were saying something. You're like, Tom Brady's great, but I hope he has a bad game against us. And
Yep.
he had a I wouldn't even say he had a he had a bad half, and that's all it took. You guys were able to get up enough. The 10 points at the half were what you guys won by. So the 16-6 at the half, you guys end up winning 29-19. So
Yep.
I mean,
Basically,
he
I
could
mean,
never he
he
could never
played a lot
recover.
better, but the score basically stayed
Yeah, he
almost
could
the
never
same,
recover from
like,
that. Like even when he was scoring, like he couldn't recover from the deficit that they'd already taken on.
yep.
Yeah, so
We actually were able to commit and capitalize and actually score. The
and
last
the,
3 weeks, what did you say? 10, 13, and 10?
10,
Or was that
13,
the,
and 10 the last 3 weeks,
yeah.
and they stuck to the run better. I mean, Gibson had his best game since week one against the Chargers. So I mean, Gibson. It seems like he's finally getting healthy from that shin thing.
Yeah, I think
His
it was the
injuries.
injury because he looked
Yeah,
really good. One of the guys next to me kept yelling like, "Run the ball!"
yeah. I would. You
It's
can't
like,
throw the inter. I mean, as we're gonna get into with the Niner thing, like because they definitely ran the ball. We're back to 2019 49ers again. We'll cover that in a minute. But yeah, I mean, shit's pretty exciting. I mean, I'm glad you were there to get to see that. The other thing, I
yeah,
don't know if you
it was
wanted to.
great.
Was there anything
Oh,
else you wanted to mention? I just had other
oh,
one thing I was
I
gonna
mean,
mention.
just next week. I mean, we're playing Carolina next week
Yeah,
with Cam with his first start, playing Ron Rivera, who is his old coach. So that's kind of an interesting matchup, and hopefully we can win that game and continue this win. Well, it's one, not a win streak. We win the game, but but you know what I mean. Maybe start a winning streak, but it's going to depend on how Cam plays because last week he got what he ran in for a touchdown and threw a
yeah,
touchdown and he only
yeah.
played about 10 snaps.
He played
So
like 8 to 10 snaps. He ended up like running one in, throwing one, so he ended up looking pretty good. But we're gonna end up seeing what he can do because as you and I have talked about this numerous times, and you've said that you thought that his shoulder's shot, and I've said that I don't think it is. And we'll end up seeing. This will be the first test in really getting to see, because we know he can still run. Like he did that very well
yeah,
with New England last year. That was like the
yeah.
one element of his game. But I mean, we're gonna see if he can throw. I mean, I hope for your sake he doesn't have too good of a game, but I mean, I
Yeah.
think I think that he could be back to his old form. I mean, Cam like stays in ridiculously good shape all the time.
Well, we will see, and I hope not.
Yeah, yeah. We'll have to follow that and see. It's gonna be a reunion for a lot of Washington players, that are former Carolina Panthers, including Joey Sly, as we mentioned.
I know, right?
Um,
It's gonna
you
be a
know,
weird game, weird match.
Cam Newton has played for Rivera, Taylor Heineke. Uh, you know, um, he was on the Panthers as well.
Curtis Samuel.
Curtis Samuel, which we didn't touch
Oh,
on
we
that.
didn't mention
Curtis
that.
Samuel practiced. There was a Curtis Samuel sighting in practice today. There's a chance that he could end up playing for, I believe, what would be his fourth game this season. So he's missed a lot of time, but he would add an interesting dynamic. And as you and I were talking about before the show, what he allows them to do, if they get Curtis Samuel back, they can start lining him up, and they'll put him in the slot too at times, but they can start ending up like putting him and McLaurin on the outsides, and lining Humphreys
As
up
it was
more
meant to be.
as a traditional slot guy, as he's meant to be playing on the inside, and
Mhm.
usually playing against like that nickel corner, rather than having Humphreys as an outside guy. Now Humphreys has filled in admirably. Like he's got like 23 catches, and he didn't have any targets up until the game, until a big 3rd and 5 where he ran his patented out route, as
Yeah,
you were
that
talking
the
about
one every time.
every time.
Every
But that's what
time.
he's good at. That's what slot guys are good
He
at.
is
They
good
run
at it.
certain
He is
reps.
good at it.
Yeah. So that's why Mohamed Sanu is an effective route runner or a slot guy for us. You got to have that guy, especially in like 3 receiver sets. But that'll allow Humphreys to start moving to the inside, and they'll have another bit of help because obviously Terry's having a great season, but he continues to be there pretty much.
I did see that. I think Terry, Antonio, and one other. They're on my fantasy. That's why I saw it. But it says questionable. So because I know Terry took a big hit in that game, and I think it might have tweaked his shoulder.
Terry's got a collarbone injury. Yeah, he ended
Okay,
up.
it was
Yeah.
collarbone. Great.
On TV, it showed him walking right before halftime to the locker room to be evaluated.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
remember
like
seeing that.
he caught a ball down by like the goal line and like kind of got sandwiched between two guys and like
Yeah, I remember that hit. Yeah, it was
yeah.
bad.
But I
Oh
mean
yeah, one thing when you're at a game in person too, you don't realize how hard the hits really are.
yeah,
I mean, those guys are getting smacked.
walloped, walloped. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's pretty rough.
Oh, when you're
So
only like 80 feet or however 50
yeah,
feet, it's like you hear it, you see it.
yeah. So hopefully Seals Jones is hopefully it's like a week to week situation where he's not out too long. Obviously as you reported, Chase Young unfortunately is going to be out for the year. Hopefully they get Montez Sweat back in a couple days or a couple games.
Couple
Hopefully
weeks.
Brandon Sheriff, comes back, and he's able to play versus Carolina. But Wes Schweitzer has been doing pretty good if he's not able to. One last thing I wanted to mention on the injury front was one player we know that won't be returning this year is quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ron reported this week that Fitzpatrick is not expected to return this year. So seems like it's going to be Heineke the remainder of the way, which
Which
we'll see with the
I'm
kid.
okay with. I mean, it would have been nice to see Fitzpatrick play at least a little bit. I mean, it's like he basically didn't play at all.
Especially
He got
because
hurt.
he's only under a 1 year deal, so like you really got to see him for what, like a drive. Like
Yeah, right. It's like great. That was
uh,
nothing. Like wait,
yeah, it was
thanks,
rough.
wasted $10 million. But I mean, it's not really. Well, I was about to say it's not his fault he got hurt, but
Yeah,
then apparently he got hurt on a water slide.
yeah,
So I
that's
feel like maybe he shouldn't get that $10 million if his dumbass got himself hurt.
I'm sure.
But
Well, that's where it comes into guaranteed money, where all that money is like not guaranteed, and like he'll end up getting like a percentage of it. So
right.
I'm sure he won't. But yeah,
All right. Well, yeah, that's everything we got for you this week. Tune in next week after the Carolina game. Hopefully another win. But this particular week has been one of the best for me in my life. I got to say, since I went to the game in person and they beat the defending Super Bowl champs, it
man,
was excellent. So
happy for you. I'm happy too. I'm happy they got that win. I didn't expect it, and it carried good juju through the weekend. So
right,
just
no one expected it.
yeah,
So on the beat in Carolina.
absolutely. Have a good night.
Have a good night, everyone.
Hey, faithful, what's going on? Thanks for joining us this week on the Niners news update. We have a big win to celebrate this week. Big 31-10 upset victory over the Los Angeles Rams. Had to stop myself from saying St. Louis because it was that for a long time. But yeah, the Los Angeles Rams to make it 5 straight against the Rams and end what was a 393-day losing streak at home where we hadn't won at Levi's. Now, a lot of that was the fact that they didn't get to play a large portion of the end of last season at Levi's due to the COVID restrictions and everything like that, and also there was a lot of issues with the air quality up there, as you may remember from
I
the
didn't
fires.
realize that was part of it. I knew about the losing streak. I didn't think about the whole thing where they weren't playing at Levi's.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that they would have had more opportunities. They might have lost those games, but I think that they would have had more opportunities to get wins. At the end of last season, it was still Nick Mullins and CJ that started those last several games. I mean, there was talk about Jimmy might, come back, but he didn't end up coming back
I don't
again.
think anybody wants to remember when Nick Mullins was starting.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I was just more mentioning that was
I
that
know.
was
I
part of
know.
that when we were playing down in Arizona. So yeah, a lot of those games weren't even at Levi's. So our technical home games were being played at State Farm Stadium in Arizona because the Cardinals were gracious enough to let us use their stadium. So yeah, we ended the losing streak of 393 days, which was awesome. Big win there. So that was huge. But before we get into talking about the game too much, just want to go into a couple of roster type moves here before we talk about the game and who stood out. But this week, San Francisco released veteran cornerback, 32-year-old veteran cornerback Dre Kirkpatrick, former Cincinnati Bengals starter, who had appeared in 6 games with us with one start. Um, Most recently, he appeared in a game with Arizona last week when we lost the 31-17 game, and he had made 7 tackles on the season. Did you watch the Arizona game? Did you see when he got trucked? He was the guy that kind of just got run over by James Conner in the hole.
Where they lost? No, I
Yeah,
did see it.
yeah,
Honestly, I didn't.
yeah.
But I remember seeing the score and was like, holy crap.
Yeah. He got run over pretty bad. It was pretty rough. So yeah, I don't know if that played a part in his getting cut, but he was definitely released after 6 games. Like I said, he had 7 tackles, no interceptions. So, he wasn't like making a huge contribution to the team. But what that meant was in the game against the Rams, which a lot of people have been calling for, our rookies, Diamador Lenore and Ambry Thomas, were both active for the first time in a couple games. Because they've been healthy, but they've been healthy scratches because we've been going with Emmanuel Mosley, Josh Norman, K'Wan Williams, and Dre Kirkpatrick. So we've been going with the veteran corners
Yeah.
and Dante Johnson as well. That's the 5 corners. But now with Kirkpatrick getting released, now that opens the door for Ambry Thomas and Diamador getting more opportunities. So that'll be good to see, because a lot of people have been saying, why not play the young guys, and develop them. So maybe we'll get to see more of that. But
Yeah, that's always good to see.
yeah,
I mean, you gotta get the rookies out there because I mean, those are the guys that are going to take over, or at least hopefully, assuming they do well.
yeah. So I don't think losing Kirkpatrick's going to be a huge loss for the secondary. I mean, we already have the. I know we were going to cover this in a little bit here, but the secondary that has the most defensive pass interference calls in the NFL. So that's an unfortunate stat to be leading in.
Yeah,
As far as some better news, got a release. That's always kind of unfortunate for Drake Kirkpatrick, but some good news is we have Dre Greenlaw and Jaquaski Tart returning to practice this week. Kyle has reported, so both of those guys have a chance of playing in the game um,
that would be
uh,
great.
this Sunday
That would be awesome to see.
against Jacksonville. Yeah, Greenlaw hasn't played since the season opener against the Lions, and I don't know if you remember that, but he had the pick six on Jared Goff, and he's been dealing with a hamstring injury ever since. So he was expected to come back a little bit quicker. He had a little bit of a you know setback, but he's back now. Expected to maybe play this weekend. Aziz Al Shire has been really stepping up and playing well in his absence, along with Fred Warner. So Kyle has said that he might not just come in and start all the snaps right away because Aziz has been playing so well. And the same thing was said about Jaquaski Tart, because each game it seems that Talanoa Hufanga started, he played better, especially that game against the Rams. He had a great
Yeah,
game.
he's done really
Yeah,
well. That was an extremely good pickup. Like he's
yeah,
had a very good season.
yeah. So Kyle said that he might not necessarily that Jaquiski will play if he's healthy, but he might not necessarily start, and that they both might play. So that could be an interesting possibility because Jaquiski Tart, when healthy, is also a good playmaker. And we just got Jimmy Ward back. Jimmy Ward coming off the best game of his career where he picked off Matt Stafford twice in the first quarter alone. So that was excellent to see. I mean, Jimmy Ward came in with 2 career interceptions. Now, granted, he's a safety. He gets less opportunities at interceptions than maybe a corner would, but he had 2 interceptions in the first quarter.
Yeah, that's like just like Tom Brady having 2 interceptions in the first quarter.
Yeah. So overall, it was a really good effort from the offense and defense. We had a lot of key players that stood out. For one, Jimmy was 15 for 19 for 182 yards with 2 touchdown passes, which was he didn't have to throw a lot. It kind of reminded me of some of those games we had in 2019, where Jimmy's pass attempts were limited and we just dominated with the run. We ended up running the ball 44 times, which was a
Yeah,
season high.
that's
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah, and we ended up dominating the time of possession as a result of that. The Niners ended up having 2 drives in the first half. The first drive of the game for the Niners was an 11 or I'm sorry, an 18 play 93 yard drive that took 11 minutes and 3 seconds off the clock. So that pretty much like ended the first quarter. And then on the Rams' first drive, um, while targeting newly acquired acquisition Odell Beckham, um, it seemed like Odell just stopped running on his route, and before as we mentioned before, Jimmy Ward kind of just jumped up and grabbed that one and got his first of 2 interceptions. And yeah, it seemed like Odell just kind of quit on the day. His numbers weren't that good. He was targeted 3 times, caught 2 passes for 18 yards in his Rams debut, and played 15 out of 55 snaps. So he really didn't play that much. So I mean, a lot of that was the fact that he didn't learn, or
Yeah,
hasn't had.
he's got to be worked back in a bit.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
he's got to get
he's got to
acclimated to a new offense, new
exactly.
terminology and everything. But
So that seems about right. I
yeah,
mean, he
yeah,
played a good,
yeah.
a little more than a quarter of the snaps.
We
So I'm
probably we're
sure
fortunate to
next
catch
week
them
he'll,
at a good time.
yeah,
Didn't know much of the offense.
absolutely, maybe,
Also,
yeah. I mean, maybe probably wouldn't have made a huge difference. I mean, but still,
yeah, yeah, we'll see. Von Miller also, suited up for his first game with the Rams. Played about 40 snaps and had 3 tackles, no sacks. Aaron Donald also held without any sacks. In fact, the 49ers offensive line held up really well. We only gave up 1 sack on the entire game, so that's really good against a really good Rams pass rush. So that was really good to see. The game got started. A big thing coming in was going to be how we were going to replace McGlinchey at right tackle. And rookie Jalen Moore started the game. He played the entire 18 play first drive. And then after that, they rotated veteran Tom Compton in there, and he played the rest of the game. But both of them played pretty well. I mean, there was only one time where Jalen Smith kind of got beat on that first drive, where Aaron Donald got around him and tackled Elijah Mitchell in the backfield for like a loss of 2 or 3 yards. But other than that, both Jalen Moore and Tom Compton played a pretty good game. And like I said, only giving up 1 sack to a team like the Rams, who they've got Von Miller and Aaron Donald on the same
yeah,
defense.
you got to protect Jimmy, man, especially from those 2 guys. Ugh.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't want them getting anywhere near his ankles, man. Like, stay
Fortunately, we
away.
only have the Rams one more time this season, and I'm holding out hope. I think we play them in the last game. I'm holding out hope that because at this point the Rams are probably going to make the playoffs regardless, right? So I'm hoping that they're in. If they're going to the playoffs in either way, they're in good enough position that in the last week of the season they just rest all their starters and we just get that easy win anyway if we're fighting for a wild card because McVay seems like the kind of guy that would rest starters in the last game of the season.
Hopefully, if it comes to
Yeah.
that,
But I mean,
absolutely.
even if that's the case, it doesn't really matter. We have McVay's number regardless of who's in there. I mean, whether it's Jared Goff, whether it's Matthew Stafford. I mean, five straight wins against the Rams. Kyle has definitely owned Sean McVay in the head to head, and
Absolutely.
Jimmy's 5-0 against the Rams. Like Jimmy's undefeated against the Rams as well. That's another thing worth mentioning. So, Even though he's immobile, like something about him, he gets rid of the ball quick. He's got that quick release, and he only threw 19 times, but four incompletions, and he got the ball out quick.
He only had to throw 19 times,
Yeah,
man. I mean, the
the run
running
game
game
was
just
working.
yeah. That's like the best thing. If the run game's
Yeah,
working, you don't got to pass the ball.
yeah,
You don't got to take those risks. You
absolutely.
just keep running it.
And
Since it's a
everybody always
did.
likes to talk about QBR as being the number. Jimmy had the best QBR he's had all season of 95.9 and a quarterback rating of 141.7. So Jimmy really had a great game with limited opportunities, but like you said, the run game was working so well that he didn't have to throw. Now, um, I think a big part of that, and I wanted to address that, was something we haven't really been able to do. Elijah Mitchell's been doing a great job for us, by the way. Definitely happy to have him. He's got 560 yards, which is good for 10th in the NFL. He leads all rookies. So he's
Yeah,
playing great.
he's looked really good.
Yeah. But a lot of the weeks we've only had him, and maybe like some Jermichael Hasty sprinkled in there, maybe some Trey Sermon. But we finally get Jeff Wilson back, who could also be, like a starting like running back for us. And Elijah Mitchell had a career high in that game. Like I said, we ran 44 times. Elijah Mitchell got 27 carries for 91 yards. Jeff Wilson got 10 carries for 28 yards. So that's 37 of the 44 carries right there. And Debo got five. We lined up Debo in the backfield, and Debo got 5 carries in the backfield, including one rushing touchdown. So getting to see a little bit more of that.
I always love to see that. Like when they
Yeah,
put Terry in and they have him run the ball.
yeah.
Oh man.
Debo is just a phenomenal weapon wherever you put him. Like whether you put him on the outside, whether you put him in the slot, or whether you put him in the backfield, he can score touchdowns and just take the ball the distance. He's having a great season.
Yeah, Debo is an amazing player.
Yeah, between him and Terry, the league's going to be in good shape with good young receivers for a while. Debo's got 979 receiving yards already. Basically he catches one pass against Jacksonville and he's going over the 1,000. I'd
Oh
imagine.
well, that's happening for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But like I was mentioning, we were able to rotate the backs, which was something we really didn't have before. So Elijah Mitchell was able to come in and kind of get spelled a little bit by Jeff Wilson for large portions of the day, and also Debo Samuel. So he wasn't carrying, the full load. Even though he got 27 carries, he wasn't running all those plays, because he was giving way to Jeff Wilson and Debo getting some carries. So
Right.
I think that'll be a good thing that we have moving forward. Now, unfortunately, one thing I did want to mention is in the game, Elijah Mitchell did fracture his finger, and he had surgery on Tuesday, and they were expecting him to be fine for the Jacksonville game. Kyle said he didn't expect him to miss any time, but he didn't practice again today on Friday, and now he's doubtful for the game on Sunday. So we might not have him. So kind of having that two-headed running back attack we had it for one game and we already may be without it again because
Oh man.
we're gonna. Jeff Wilson is healthy and he was looking good in his opportunities. If anything, we'll probably see more of Trey Sermon, who was looking good earlier in the season, and then maybe even some of Jermichael Hasty, but he's been dealing with an ankle thing. So, we have plenty of depth at running back. It's just gonna, I'd imagine.
Yeah, all the running backs this season I feel like have looked pretty solid. Like
Yeah,
everyone who's been in and out, like they've all looked pretty good.
Kyle's system is very running back friendly. Kyle's like gotten by a long time with. They were talking about this a long time. Kyle's gotten by with late round draft picks. There was Arian Foster in Houston. There was obviously Alfred Morris in Washington, who was like a late 6th or 7th round guy. So these are guys that were drafted later in the round. Like Elijah Mitchell's a 6th round draft pick. Trey Sermon's the 3rd round pick, and he's kind of just been playing special teams because they
Yeah.
like what Elijah Mitchell's been doing better. But yeah, I'm excited to hopefully we can run the ball down Jacksonville's throat, and Jimmy has another great game. Jimmy's QBR has been off the chain, and he's had 3 really good games in a row. So looking forward to continuing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Jimmy Jesus.
Yeah, Yeah, he's getting back to that, like I said, that 2019 form.
Yep. Hopefully, all this good stuff goes into the coming weeks
Yeah,
with the Niners and with Washington after the big wins. It's like just keep it moving, keep it rolling, guys. Come on,
yeah, yeah.
don't
Hopefully we can
stop.
keep the momentum going in the next game. We did get out of that game relatively healthy, which was a plus. That was definitely a blessing in
Yeah,
that
that's always a
situation.
huge plus.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention, as far as how the Niners scored was Jimmy hit one of his touchdowns to George Kittle for his second receiving touchdown of the season. Jimmy Ward's second interception of the season was returned on a bobble from Tyler Higbee. Kind of like it was almost similar to the William Jackson situation with Washington, where the ball was like bobbled out of his hands and like
Yeah, and
into
it popped back
Jimmy
up, and it's
Ward's
just like
hands, and then returned for an interception. So before they even knew it, they were down 14 to nothing to the 49ers. The Rams were,
nice.
and then we would put together another good drive before the half, um, where Debo would score a rushing touchdown. Like I said, he one of his 5 carries he took out of the backfield for a rushing touchdown, so his second rushing touchdown of the season. So he's proven to be dynamic out of the backfield as well to put them up 21-7. The Rams ended up passing up a field goal attempt right before the half, where Johnny Hecker tried a field goal attempt.
Yeah, what the hell was that? I remember seeing
Yeah,
that. That
yeah,
was
yeah,
the
yeah.
most ridiculous shit.
He tried the fake field goal, and immediately Hufanga, like I said, Hufanga played a great game. And immediately on that play, Hufanga was in Hecker's face. So he had to get rid of it super quick. And then DJ Jones, our big defensive tackle, DJ Jones comes up and makes the tackle on backup tight end Kendall Blanton in the flat for a gain of 2. So, I mean, they could have gone in 21-10 at halftime there, which you're still down 2 scores, but at least that gives you a little bit of momentum going into the
Yeah,
half, and McVay giving up the points. And another thing that I just wanted to touch on real quick is we've been struggling. We're 30th in the league in third down. We've been struggling with it all season, but we started this game 5 for 5 in the first half, and this was another thing I wanted to mention. The Washington, like the Niners, neither one of us punted until the third quarter of the game. Tressway or Wishnowski didn't come out until the third quarter. So that's huge in the game. And by the end of the third
absolutely.
quarter, we were 8 out of 12 on third down. So a thing that we've been struggling with, we've been having turnovers all season, and we can't convert on third downs. We had no turnovers in this game, and we were 8 out of 12 on third down. So that's hugely
70.
successful.
That's 75%.
Yeah.
That's great.
And then there was a third down that we had. We'd been running the ball so well. Everybody thought we were probably just going to keep running the ball, but Jimmy hits Debo on a nice route across the middle, which Debo breaks for 40 yards, and that put the Niners up 31-7 in the third quarter. So that really put it out of reach. I mean, the Rams ended up having 3 possessions in the third quarter, and they went 3 and out on each of their third quarter possessions. So they really didn't give themselves the chance to get back in the game.
Oh, I just realized that was 66%. It's 8 of 12.
Yeah, yeah, it
Almost
was it was a really
75%.
it was a really good game,
66%.
and I also wanted to
Still
kind of
good though.
shout out the defensive line. Defensive line's been playing their ass off. Especially without Javon Kinlaw, we've been without him. He only played in 4 games this season because he had to have knee surgery. But we've been having a lot of players step up, and it's not just Nick Bosa. Obviously, he has a league leading 8 sacks, so that's huge. He's going to be the one that gets all the recognition. But we've got a lot of depth signings that have been helping out as well, and guys that have been in the system for years that have been developing. Without Kinlaw, players like Arden Key have been stepping up. Contavious Street, who's been around for a long time but was hurt the first couple years, he's got 2 sacks for us. Kevin Givens has been playing well in Kinlaw's absence. Jordan Willis, who was a guy we acquired in a trade last year from the Jets. Charles Minahu, who we acquired at the trade deadline with Houston this year. So all these guys are kind of stepping up, and Arden Key got his second sack in that game. Nick Bosa picked up an eighth sack in 9 games. It's interesting to see how many sacks he's going to finish with. Hopefully, he gets upwards of 15. But he's got 8 already through 9 games, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, just wanted to go ahead and recognize that that defensive line playing well, and they put they made it uncomfortable for Stafford all game.
Yeah, I hope he gets to 15 plus sacks. If he's at 8 already and there's that many
Yeah,
games left, he could get to 15.
yeah, absolutely. Now, the Niners did get flagged for their unfortunate 15th defensive pass interference call of the year after not having any of the last 2 games. K'Wan Williams got called in the fourth quarter for one that gave the Rams an automatic first down. Although they didn't end up coming away with any points. It was interesting enough that with 6 minutes to go, when they got down there, McVay would pass up a field goal. Obviously, the game's out of reach anyway, but a field goal would have made it 31-10 with 6 minutes left. Instead, they went for it, and Stafford overthrows the receiver in the end zone. Now, the only reason I mention that is because they ended up getting another possession and getting down there with about 4 minutes left, and then McVay does take the field goal. So it's like, why wouldn't you have just taken the field goal before, and then at least maybe you were still lost, but it would have been 31-13 because he would have
Yeah,
had those
that that doesn't make any sense.
31-16 if they would have actually kicked the real field goal in the first half instead of trying that Hecker fake. But I mean,
Yeah,
they're losing either way.
terrible decision. What like what? Why? Why would you do that?
They're losing either way. But yeah, McVay definitely passing up some opportunities to kick field goals. And yeah, that 31-10 would end up being the final score. And with about 10:35 left in the fourth quarter, the Levi's fans, who have been starved for victory for 393 days, could be heard loudly on television chanting "Beat LA, beat LA." So that was awesome. That was great to see. I mean, they definitely deserve a home victory, and they got one. So on to Jacksonville, and then we've got Minnesota next. Quick breakdown on that, and then we'll get off of here for the day. Jacksonville has been a team that's been playing better. Their running back James Robinson has been looking pretty good. He's been dealing with a heel injury, so we're going to see if he's going to play. He's questionable. If he doesn't play, former 49ers running back Carlos Hyde is expected to get most of the carries. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence has been looking better, and the Jags overall have won 2 out of their last 3 games, or actually it's 2 out of their last 4. But they've definitely been more competitive. So definitely don't expect it to be an easy game. They do have a good defense, and
Should be
Trevor
a
Lawrence.
winnable game though. Should definitely be a winnable game.
It definitely should, but I'm not counting on it like being a blowout victory. I mean, I hope that they do. I mean, especially
Right.
if we control the line of scrimmage and run the ball like we did. But Jacksonville has an underrated defense, and like I said, I think that there will definitely be some plays where Trevor Lawrence shows why he was the number one overall pick. So we'll follow along. We can definitely win that game, and then we've got the Vikings next. So 2 winnable games. If we win both of them,
Definitely.
I mean we're 4-5 right now. We could conceivably be 6-5. The Niners are right outside. You know, we're like in the ninth position. There's 7 teams that go to the playoffs, and we're in that ninth position right now. So we're like jousting with teams like Minnesota, Carolina. Teams like that are who we really need to. So head to head with Minnesota is going to be huge. So follow along with us in the upcoming weeks, and we'll see what happens. But hopefully the Niners can keep that momentum going.
Definitely.
Hopefully Jimmy can keep playing well, and we can keep running the ball down everybody's throat. But you guys have a good night, and see you next time.
Have a good night, everybody.